Coming to you from Music City, Nashville, Tennessee, this is the Quinn Spinn. Hey now! And welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, one and all, to a brand new edition of the Quinn Spinn. I'm your host, the Quinn, at least that's how I'm known here on the program. And I'm back here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, and more for another rousing and riveting installment of the official podcast of ECM Collective. I don't know why I slipped into that voice, but we're just going to roll with it. We don't edit here. You heard Revel 9's All I Become at the top of the show. That's been our opening theme song here at the Quinn Spinn since the great year of 2014. And it will be until the very end of days. And here's that voice again. And you'll notice that I'm back here at Helping Our Music Evolve if you're watching this on YouTube for another Quinn Spinn solo mission, which highlights the life and times of a creative entrepreneur. That creative entrepreneur being me. Okay, enough with the NPR voice, all right? Before we get to today's topic, because it's a hot one in contrast to whatever that was that I just did, I want to encourage you to like, share, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever the mechanism is on your platform of choice in consuming the show. Please engage with us because that's going to help us reach more people, which will ultimately help us spread this message and enlighten the world here at the Quinn Spinn and ECM Collective. Anyway, yeah, this one's been in my craw for a little bit, and I understand that this might ruffle some feathers, but you know what? We keep it real here on the Quinn Spinn, and those feathers are going to get ruffled today because this concept of the villain era bothers me. And full disclosure, I do use the term jokingly sometimes, like when I get a little too much creamer in my coffee at Starbucks and, I politely ask them to remake it, I then jokingly text people saying, I'm in my villain era, all caps. But I don't mean it. I don't mean it. And I think this term and the way we're using it in society is flawed. Because when we say we're in our villain era, we mean one of two things. The first, which is harmless, and actually I think good, healthy, productive behavior, is setting healthy boundaries. Knowing when to say no, not being a doormat, not giving in to people-pleasing behavior and habits of the past, and showing up as a healthier version of ourselves so we may give more not only to ourselves but to the world around us. That's not villainous. Stop calling it your villain era. There's nothing villainous about that. As a matter of fact, it's helping you become a more productive member of society, right? So in that context, it doesn't make sense to say that you're in your villain era when you're actually being more of a hero, right? But then there's this other context, and this is what brought it to mind for me and what makes me want to rant about it. I had a friend who recently told me that she's now going to be a chaos goblin in her villain era and essentially doesn't care, what heart she breaks or who she hurts or this, that, the other thing. That is toxic behavior. Stop it. Stop doing that. If you are in a position in your life, and usually this comes after a breakup or after some situation in life doesn't work out, where you just want to give the pain back to people, a lot of innocent people who don't deserve the projection are going to end up in the crossfire, right? And you're going to end up making a lot of regrettable choices. You're going to end up being pulled further away from yourself and your core values and who you truly are meant to be in this world by giving in to this chaotic, villainous behavior. I talked about chaos, a month or so ago on the show? And the antidote to chaos is consistency. The antidote to chaos is not giving in to your impulses just because it feels good in the moment, even though you know it's going to be a regret later on, right? Instead of giving in to this villainous behavior, the truly villainous behavior of just taking, and not giving anything back, and not caring what the consequences are, how somebody feels about you at the end of the day, why don't you focus that energy, instead of projecting your hurt outward, on going inward and figuring out why the situation that you're mad about in the first place didn't work out. And figuring out what behaviors of yours caused it to not work out so you may then correct them going forward as to not end up in the same situation, right? Instead of this being your villain era, why don't we make this the era of accountability? Why don't we make this the era of intentionality and setting higher standards for yourself, for your life, for your habits, for your relationships, for how you show up in the world, so that you don't keep finding yourselves in these same situations, But we must also take accountability for our role in finding ourselves in those situations first. That's what I've got. Short and sweet today, because I'm tired of this villain era stuff. Either you're not being villainous, or you are intentionally being villainous, and you need to stop it. So stop it. Intentionality, accountability, higher standards. Anyway, let me know what you think about this episode in the comments. Share it if you like this message, and follow the Quinn Spinn on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. Also on Instagram at Quinn Spinn Official, 2 N's in Quinn, 2 N's in Spin. And you know what? Facebook's been popping off a little bit more than usual lately too. So you might as well give us a follow over there, the Quinn Spinn on Facebook. ECM Collective is on all the socials. That's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Oh, wait, it's X now. Whatever. I'm not really active there anyway. X, YouTube, LinkedIn, all the things. Of course, you can go to ecmcollective.com. And if you go to ecmcollective.com/join, that's our application to join our membership community. We have another virtual coffee chat coming up on the 29th of October, and plenty more opportunities to connect and learn from each other coming up between now, the end of the year, and into 2024. Revel 9's All Become. Going to take us out just like it brought us in. Grab some muffins on your way out. And stop being villains for the sake of society.